Jean woke up to something nudging against his leg. For a moment he thought it Nora, banging against his leg while they were camping. She always had a tendency to hold on to someone while she slept. Most of the time she would go for Ren, but late at night she often made mistakes. It was up in the air who would be consigned to the role of teddy bear. It wasn't until a lull whirring invaded his ears that he realized he wasn't in a camp, however. Not when the vacuum cleaner bumped against his legs. "Morning," his mum greeted as she moved his legs aside, vacuuming up some loose bits of cake beneath him. "Someone still sleepy, it seems." Jean yawned. "Morning." He glanced at one of the nearby windows, trying to judge the time. Looked like it was around 10 in the morning. By this point he'd usually have already been up training for a few hours. This wasn't that life, though. It would be different. "You teenagers and sleeping in." She continued to vacuum around him as she spoke. "You let the whole world pass you by while you sleep. Sometimes I envy you even being able to lay in so long." "How can you both criticize and praise my youth at the same time?" "Because I'm your mother. It's my prerogative. Since you're awake, though, your father and I wanted to have a quick chat with you in the kitchen." She flicked the device off with her foot, waving him towards the kitchen. They wanted to talk with him? He wasn't aware there was anything he'd done wrong. Then again, he'd only been here for a few days. Who was to say his past self hadn't just gotten in trouble for something and now he was able to take the blame? That would be a pain in the ass. Nicholas was sat at the family table when they entered, and as Juniper pulled out a seat beside him, Jean realized that this was going to be some kind of important meeting, more so because none of his sisters were present. "So?" Jean sat down opposite them, feeling for all the world like he was in some kind of interrogation room. All that was needed now was ironwood, 2 guards, and the blandest plate of sandwiches he'd ever tasted. It was no wonder Ironwood was always so angry if he had to eat that trash. "You're 15 now, son." Nicholas' smile looked faint. Faked. "We always tried to make sure you got grounding in as many different things as possible, and education, activities and such. But you'll soon become a man in your own right." "Are you giving me the talk?" Juniper glared at her husband. "You told me you'd given him that! You swore! I did!" The older man's expression took on a panicked edge. "I did tell him, I swear. He's just making a joke. Right?" Jean couldn't remember, but by this point he knew much more than just the mechanics of sexual intercourse. "Of course I know," he laughed, watching as his old man relaxed. "A man and a woman get together. You don't need to explain it. And then they choose a baby from a catalogue. They have to pick really hard and it can sometimes make a lot of noise, which is why I'm not to enter your room when I hear banging." "Nicholas Ark!" She sounded furious, even as the man's face drained of colour, and then the mother keeps the catalogue warm beneath her top until the white nevermore. "I didn't tell him any of that!" Nicholas tried to defend himself, reaching over to slap a hand over John's mouth. "I didn't. Tell her I didn't, son. Come on." Jean rolled his eyes with a sigh. "Penis goes into the hole. I know what sex is." "You're an asshole." His father sighed, finally calming down when his mother looked like she was about to enact a war. "If we can get back to being serious for a second, what we wanted to discuss is how it's about time you started thinking about what you want to do in life. There's a lot of jobs that require certain qualifications, so if you want to get into them, you need to start studying." Oh. This was some kind of career meeting. The last time... It was too long ago. But he could make an accurate enough guess of what his answer had been. He wanted to be a hero, a hunter, and he knew full well how that had gone. Nicholas had told him he was too late, too unfit, too impatient, or whatever excuse of the day it was. "So do you have any ideas? Any at all?" Jean hummed, sparing an idle glance at the man. Nicholas' face was neutral, devoid of all expression. Yet you didn't live as long as Jean had without picking up some tricks. He could see full well how that expression was just a little too rigid, the lips thin, as though he was fighting to keep his mouth closed. Nicholas didn't like this conversation, or there was something he wasn't keen on. But that wasn't Jean's problem. What did he want to be? Well, nothing he did really mattered. so long as he kept living, but at the same time he couldn't sponge off his family forever. He wanted to go to school, slip into a normal life once more, and that meant he needed to work towards some kind of goal. Nothing related to the military. That way led to Cinderfall. On that note, it shouldn't be anything in Vale either, or he'd just be caught up in the madness. Something that allowed him to travel. That would enable him to stay one step ahead of the game, while also giving him a legitimate excuse to get the hell out of Vale before the festival. Unbiding, his eyes drifted over to the acoustic guitar resting by the door. He had promised to learn that, hadn't he? "I'd like to be a musician," Jean said slowly, testing the word out within his own mind. A musician or a performer, someone who can travel and see the world. A memory came to him of a story once told to him by Ruby. A wandering minstrel. Juniper looked uncertain. "That's a wonderful dream." Nicholas' hand slammed down on the table. "There's so much of Rembrandt has to offer. Wanting to see it all is a great idea. Plus, music can help to make people feel better. You'll be doing so much for the people." Okay. Certainly looked like his father was on board with the idea. Jean wasn't sure he'd ever seen the man look so pleased, or downright relieved. "Dearie," Juniper sighed, only to be shushed by the taller man. "Our son should be free to pursue his dreams." Well, if that wasn't one of the most hypocritical things Jean had ever heard. "And it coincides with our birthday gift for him. We should encourage him in this, I guess." She still didn't sound enthused, but she realized she wasn't going to win against the both of them. Jean could imagine what her issue was, likely due to the rather vague nature of his new career path. It wasn't exactly a job with a lot of security, but it would allow him to go wherever he wanted, do whatever he wanted. There'll be no office hours, no contracts to tie him down. He could be wherever he needed to be, do whatever he needed to do, learn whatever skills he thought might be useful for the future. "You'll need lessons, though," Nicholas continued, stroking his coarse chin with one hand. "I think I know a guy here in Ansel who used to teach, old friend of mine, who retired some time ago. If I arrange some lessons for you, will you stick to them?" "I will," Jean promised. Another one that he could keep, that he would keep. It was a novel feeling, a fulfilling one. "Hell, how about I learn with you?" Nicholas' words came out faster. The man clearly lost in some excitement. "We don't get enough time together. It could be great for us to spend some time together as men. Get away from so many women for a change." Juniper rolled her eyes, making a little talking motion with her hands. "Aren't you busy, though?" Jean choked. He was always busy. Always. Every time Jean asked for training, every time he tried to get his father's help, he'd always been too busy. And yet now he magically had time for this? "I can always make time for you, you liar." A little chuckle slipped past his lips as he shook his head. What a liar. So that was how it was. It wasn't that Nicholas couldn't train him at all. "I'd like that, Dad," Jean said, watching the older man smile. Once upon a time he might have felt betrayed. Now he could only smile. People lied. They had their reasons. There was a reason for everything people did in life. Sometimes those reasons would make sense. Sometimes they would only make sense to the one who had them. He didn't know why his father was so set against it, but it didn't matter. Given this opportunity to reconnect with him once more, Jean wasn't going to push it. "And you're right. It'll be good to get a little distance from all this estrogen." "See?" Juniper rolled his eyes at Nicholas's pout. "I did tell him how it all worked. He knows about estrogen." "I'm 15, not 10. Is this how Ruby always feels?" Jean was an excellent lounger. It was a skill he developed over the last few months, a new hobby in fact. One he never realized had such intricacies to it. Laying there doing nothing, lost in one's own thoughts, it was a liberating experience. more so because he'd been able to find the most incredible balance of warm and cool, where the heat from the beach interacted perfectly with the soft ocean breeze. Equilibrium had been achieved. "Jean, come play in the water with us." And now life threatened to tear it away. Jean didn't respond to his younger sisters, knowing to do so would just invite more wheedling. Instead, he shuffled and turned over, exposing his back to the sun and making his intent clear. There was no way he was going to give this relaxation time up. Not when it wasn't every day he got to spend time on a Vaco beach. Well, maybe beach was a bit of a strong word. The entirety of Vaco was pretty much desert, so it was less a beach and more where the desert met the ocean. Either way, it was glorious, and he wasn't going to give it up. "Jean," Amber pouted and stomped one foot. "Why are you always so lazy? Come swim with us." "I'm ill." "Ugh," Jean grumbled. "Disease." "Mum says you're not," Amber argued, with that simple child's logic that against all logic always seemed to win. "She said they took you in for the blood test to see why you slept so much, but there's nothing wrong with you. That means you're just lazy." And hadn't that been an unpleasant surprise? A few days of sleeping in at every opportunity could be explained away as puberty, but it seemed his parents had taken notice of his disturbing habit of falling asleep at any opportunity, and worried about it. Blood and medical tests had never been his favorite thing, and of course they hadn't found anything. He was the picture of health. How could he explain that it was probably just a habit? Something he'd learned to do whenever there was a downtime available? That was what he assumed anyway. Or maybe it was like when you slept in too long and somehow woke up feeling even more tired. Still, it was a little rude of the doctor to say he wasn't ill, he was just lazy. Jean-Arc was not lazy, thank you very much. He could train more in a month than many could in half a year. He had fought against armies of Grimm, faced off against some of the most dangerous women on Remnant, and even the occasional skilled man. Jean-Arc was on a holiday. There was a key difference in that, and it was hard-earned. And he deserved to be able to enjoy it. And now he was on a holiday within a holiday, which meant he had doubled the rights to enjoy it, or something like that. Which was why he was going to sunbathe, sleep, rest, and otherwise slack off. Not swim with his sisters. He loved them. He really did. But there was so much as a thing as too much. 7 was too much. Gods. How it was too much. The hormones weren't helping either. Not when he was an older and more experienced man trapped in the body of a boy exiting puberty in a house with 7 sisters. Where was a guy even supposed to masturbate? If his bed so much as squeaked, he had girls knock on the walls asking him what he was doing. I never considered that horror of coming back so far. Puberty sucks. If you don't move, Amber paused as she tried to think of some threat. Then I'll move you. Good luck with that. Jean grumbled as he pulled a towel over his eyes, signaling the end of the conversation. He probably weighed almost twice as much as she did. It wasn't until he felt the presence of a few other girls around them that he realized what Amber had done. As he felt the towel go stiff beneath him, then his body rising off the ground as they carted him to the ocean. He could have gotten off and walked away, but that would have required energy. Jean could only sigh. Nicholas and Juniper sat some distance away, keeping a close eye on their kin, but granting them a little independence. It had taken a lot of creative planning to get this time off, not to mention the cost of shipping so many people over to Valco and paying for the hotel. The life of a hunter paid well, especially one as successful as he. But when your family was so large, well, it soon added up. He's sleeping still. Nicholas sighed as he turned to look at his wife. She looked beautiful in that black and blue bikini. He'd seen more than a few men looking, though they hadn't looked twice after meeting his eyes. He spends so much time sleeping. So is every other person here. He laughed as he pointed around them. A good portion of the people on the beach were also asleep. She gave him an unimpressed look, saying he knew exactly what she meant. "You heard the doctor, June. There's nothing wrong with him. He's just growing up. Some people are naturally determined. Others quite, I guess, ours is just sleepy." "You would say that." Her green eyes glared at him through her thick lashes. "He can't do any wrong in your eyes, ever since he stopped crowing about following in your footsteps." Nicholas ran one hand through his shoulder-length hair. Okay. There was no real arguing with that. Not when she was pretty much spot on. She knew his reasons, though. He doesn't even bring any of his friends from school over anymore. I asked Sapphire, and she says she doesn't even see him talk to anyone in class. Juniper's teeth bit down on the skin of her finger, chewing on her fist. When I asked, he just said they were immature. It's like he's outgrowing all his friends. I'm worried. He gets on famously with his sisters, though. Nicholas waved one hand towards the ocean, where the 7 girls were working together to drag him into the cold water. Well, normally anyway. I know, and I love him for that. I do. One brother among so many sisters? He'd been worried about that too, but it seemed like Jean loved them all equally. Lately he'd been paying a lot more attention to them too. Much to their delight, they took advantage of him shamelessly too. He didn't seem to mind. "I love that they all get on so well," she continued. "I'm just worried that he won't have any friends of his own. He still needs to learn to actually socialize. It'll be fine." He settled his hands on her shoulders, delighting in the way her body molded against his own. She felt so snug against his chest that he just wanted to wrap his arms around her and never let go. Jean's growing up. It's bound to be a confusing time for him. All we can do is support him all the way. Nicholas watched as he drifted in the shallows of the ocean. His sisters were splashing water on him as he did so, laughing and giggling. He looks like he could use it. Jean dragged himself out of the ocean with a quiet sigh. Thankfully, it had only taken 15 minutes or so for his sisters to become distracted, granting him the opportunity to drift away. The beach was all enclosed, so his parents wouldn't worry too much, but it would give him a chance to catch some rays and sleep without interruption. He'd make it up to them later, likely in the form of rubbing after sun into them once they all inevitably got burned. They spent way too long in the water without topping up on lotion. You just can't tell some people. They'll learn tonight, and I'd like to remember the lesson for a few months to come. For now, though, it wasn't his problem. In fact, the only thing that was on his mind was the soft sandbank before him, rising up a good 2 or so meters, laying down against it. Jean felt all those little worries fade away, drifting into a beautiful serenity. A muffled snicker came from nearby. Again, not his problem. This was hardly a private beach, and so long as they didn't keep him from sleep, they could do whatever they wanted. Oh yeah, look at those buds, man. Jean growled lightly, turning on his side as he held one hand across his face. Something shifted above him. A cascade of sand and dirt raining down on his face. Jean's eyes snapped open as he coughed the sand out of his throat. Okay, now they're gone and done it. His sleep was ruined. Gone. Done. Excuse me. Jean sighed as he turned to look further up the sandbank. 2 figures lay across the top, hidden on this side of the bank with their faces peeking over, giggling between themselves. They didn't seem to hear his words at all. Excuse me. Shh! One of them turned to shush him. It wasn't until Jean noticed that he wasn't holding a finger before his mouth, however, but a tail. Then he realized exactly who was trying to enforce silence on him. Sun Wukong. Which meant the blue-haired teen beside him? Huh. He hadn't realized they had been friends before Haven. Maybe that was why Sun had moved there in the first place. Huh. What are the odds? Well, probably not bad. This is a resort after all, and Sun does live in Valco. Or probably does right now. Anyway. Plus it was hardly unusual for people to visit the beach in the middle of July, was more a coincidence that they bumped into one another so casually. Hell, with it being a school holiday, there was probably a good proportion of every teenager in the area in this beach. Yeah, about that. Jean sighed. Can you maybe practice your own advice a little bit? I'm trying to sleep here. Sleep? Bro? When there's so many hot girls around here? I think someone needs a little help from the coolest dudes around. Hey, Nep. Sun held a fist out to the blue-haired teen. Beside him, the other boy looked uncertain for a moment, adjusting a pair of binoculars, a surprise even to Jean, before weakly bumping fists. It's a work in progress. Sun laughed. Those two always had been quite the pair. Comedic, ridiculous, but also easy to rely on. They always had your back when you needed it the most, even if you were never quite sure what brand of madness they'd bring to the equation. Honestly, they had always reminded him of an all-male Ruby. But right now, neither of them were his bro. Right now, they were keeping him awake when he was supposed to be asleep. Hey! Jean made sure to raise his voice, despite the urgent motions they made. Who are you two spying on? Stop that! The reaction was instantaneous. From beyond the sandbank where there was a sudden commotion, feminine voices raised in outrage as Sun and Neptune scrambled to flee. Sun made sure to flash him an annoyed glare as he sprinted past, Neptune hot on his heels. If anything, they'd always been good at making a speedy exit when things got tough. Damn kids, a woman growled as she crested the bank. There was another beside her of similar age, both of them no older than 20. They make perverts younger and younger these days. Oh, hey there. She seemed to notice him at last, cocking her head to the side as she waved. Was it you who shouted out? Her friend asked. That was very brave of you. The girl leaned forward to blow a kiss at him, offering an absolutely fantastic view of her bikini-clad breasts. Jean felt his shorts tightening. Hello, hormones. Nice to hear from you again. How long had it been since he'd actually... A while. There hadn't been much opportunity on the last run, and he'd always been celibate the one before that too. The act had lost a lot of its appeal over time, especially compared to the allure of working his ass off to try and save his friends. But if he was on a holiday right now... Well... Jean tilted his head to the side and smiled. I'm glad to be of help. The name is Jean. Jean-Arc. And it just rolled off the tongue. I'm sure things will be fine. Nicholas Arc soothed as he massaged his wife's shoulders. Juniper nursed a cold can of some carbonated drink in one hand. We'll always be there to support him when he needs us. And he isn't acting depressed or anything in music lessons. He's actually a lot more dedicated than I expected. Which stung him a little. Not that John was putting in that level of effort. That was great. More that Nicholas could misjudge his own son, so to think that he would put in any less. Clearly John wasn't lazy at all when it came to things that he was interested in. That determination would serve him well, in whatever path he chose. You're right, of course. Her head fell back against his neck as she let out a long sigh. Juniper's shoulders were always so tense and knotted. If he was the one who went out and risked his life to bring home the bread, then it was she who made sure he had a home to return to. Between hordes of Beowulfs and their tenuous balance amongst 8 teenage children, Nicholas certainly knew which battle he would rather fight. I'm just a worrywart, she sighed. Ignore me. Never. That concern is why I love you. Funny. She smiled up at him, eyes open once more. And last night, you told me it was because of that thing I do with my... Hi, sweetie. Juniper's voice took on a frantic edge as Amber appeared before them. Thank the heavens she didn't appear to have heard anything. That was also another nightmare of having so many children. Hi, Mummy. Hi, Daddy. Amber sat down between them, instantly pushing her two apart as she adopted the position all young children instinctively did. The cock block. Where's your brother? Nicholas sighed. I thought you were with him. Big brother is making friends. Amber whined like a small puppy. She shrunk in on herself as she said it, looking about as desolate as an 11-year-old child could. Nicholas shared a quick glance with Juniper, however, a weight lifting from their shoulders. As much as Amber might rebel against it, this was a good sign indeed. Maybe there wasn't much to worry about after all. Hey, Mummy, why is Jean's new friends making him rub oil onto their chest? Because they're hussies, sweetie, Juniper cooed as she deposited Amber in his lap, standing up and cracking her knuckles ominously. Now, why don't you keep Daddy company while I go and rescue my little baby? Nicholas winced as she stomped off, other beachgoers suddenly finding reason to be vacant from her path. Hey, he shouted after her, at least he's making friends, right? She didn't look amused.